Support Your Local Sheriff is one of those films where you press play expecting a simple old-school Western, and instead you get a chaotic, self-aware comedy that feels like the cast knew they were making something ridiculous, and fully committed to the madness anyway. Released in 1969, the movie looks harmless from the outside: dusty streets, saloons, gunfights, sheriffs, horses, the classic Western formula. But behind that formula was a production team operating with a budget so small it could barely afford the hats, and yet somehow they built a comedy that became iconic. And the reason it became iconic isn't just the jokes or the timing or the chemistry. It's the unbelievable, unexpected, almost unbelievable series of catastrophes that shaped it behind the scenes. This movie wasn't made smoothly, it was survived. Between rewrites, improvised scenes, vanishing props, actors making up lines, stunts gone wrong, scenes filmed accidentally, and a premiere that practically caught fire, this film is one giant miracle tied together with tape and a very confused production crew. Let's start with what might be the funniest truth behind this entire movie. Fact number 1, it was only made because the studio was broke. The company behind it had suffered several flops and needed something fast, cheap, and guaranteed to bring people into theaters. Westerns were cheap to shoot. And parody westerns, even cheaper. So the studio basically threw their hands up and said, fine. Make fun of westerns. Just make something that sells popcorn. Fact number 2 is even crazier. James Garner, the star of the film, ate up nearly 40% of the entire budget. That meant that once Garner was paid, the rest of the cast was essentially performing for loose pocket change and the promise of future payment. Several actors joked that they were paid in IOUs and sandwiches. Then comes fact number 3, the opening scene was rewritten 17 times. Why? Because everyone disagreed on the tone. The director wanted a grounded spoof. The writers wanted chaos. The studio wanted something family-friendly. James Garner wanted something funny but not stupid. So they kept rewriting until everyone hated every draft equally, and that was the one they filmed. These 3 facts alone tell you everything. This film was born out of panic, financial desperation, and pure improvisation. And yet, it worked. Now we enter the territory where everything behind the scenes starts sounding like a sitcom. Fact number 4, the jail cell scene was completely improvised. Yes, the famous moment where Garner draws a fake, chalk jail on the ground and everyone treats it like an actual cell wasn't in the script at all. The chalk was meant for marking actor positions. Garner picked it up, started acting with it, and everyone, instead of breaking, just played along. The director whispered to the camera operator, "Don't cut. This is better than anything we wrote." Fact number 5 proves the chaos wasn't limited to the script. One actor kept firing blanks at the wrong time, ruining take after take. Not dangerous, but extremely loud. So the sound team secretly replaced his gun with a prop that couldn't fire. He kept shooting proudly, unaware it wasn't doing anything. Then comes fact number 6, the horse inconsistency. 3 different horses played the sheriff's horse because the wranglers kept bringing whichever animal was available. One had a patchy mane, one was slightly darker, one had a different gait completely. Continuity? Never heard of it. These aren't mistakes, they're the chaotic stitching that gives this movie its unique charm. Every error somehow worked. Let's talk stunts, accidents, and names that changed at the last minute. Fact number 7, a stuntman accidentally broke a table that wasn't meant to break. The set designer had built real, solid, heavy furniture. The stunt was carefully planned so he'd land beside the table. Instead, he missed his mark by a few inches and shattered the thing into splinters. After the shock wore off, the director shrugged and said, "Well, it looks great. Print it." Fact number 8, one entire fight scene was done in a single take because the studio couldn't afford reshoots. That's why if you watch closely, you'll see actors waiting for cues that never come, saloon extras freezing awkwardly, and one guy who clearly forgets his line and just swings a punch instead. The confusion actually makes the scene feel funnier and more chaotic. Fact number 9, the town name changed twice because legal wouldn't approve it. The script originally used a real Western town name. Legal said, "Nope." They changed it. Legal said, "Nope" again. So the writers invented a brand new fictional Western town the night before filming the sign. These facts show the truth. The movie wasn't planned, it was improvised, salvaged, and duct taped together. And somehow, every wrong turn made it better. Now we step into the realm of actor secrets, improvised magic, and filming accidents that somehow made the movie stronger. Fact number 10. James Garner did 90% of his own stunts. Unlike many actors who leave action to the professionals, Garner insisted on doing nearly everything himself, except anything involving horses. He famously said, "Horses don't trust me, and I don't trust horses." Fact number 11. The dinner scene originally had completely different dialogue. The script contained long, dull lines that drained the comedy. Garner and the cast begged to rewrite it. The director refused. So the actors improvised the entire thing. They filmed it in one take, expecting it to be cut. Instead, it ended up becoming one of the most quoted scenes from the movie. Fact number 12. A scene from the sequel was filmed by mistake. Because the production office kept mixing script drafts, one day the cast performed a scene that didn't belong to this movie at all. No one realized until weeks later when the writers said, "Wait, when did you film this?" These facts prove that the film didn't succeed because of planning, it succeeded because the cast and crew constantly turned disasters into comedy gold. Now we get into the political and logistical madness behind the production. Fact number 13. The studio tried to cancel the movie twice. Once when early footage looked too goofy. And once when the budget passed the razor-thin limit. Both times the producers begged, "But we've already shot half the movie." The studio finally sighed and said, "Just finish it. But make it cheaper." Fact number 14. The film reused props from 3 different westerns. Saddles, rifles, hats, doors, signs, anything lying around in the warehouse was thrown into the production. You can spot mismatched era props, reused backgrounds, and one wagon wheel that clearly belonged in another film entirely. This wasn't laziness, it was survival. Fact number 15. One villain actor had a contract stating he couldn't be punched. He refused to be hit on camera, even in choreographed fights. So the stunt team had to design multiple scenes where people around him got punched, thrown, or slammed, while he miraculously dodged every hit. Watch the fights again, it's hilarious once you know the truth. These facts show the film wasn't made with precision, it was made with compromise, bargains, and actors who negotiated like lawyers. And the result? Somehow, pure charm. Now let's talk hidden references, because this movie is stuffed with them. Fact number 16. The sheriff character is a disguised parody of Wyatt Earp. But the studio couldn't publicly admit it. The Earp family had a history of suing productions that portrayed Wyatt inaccurately. So the writers created a character who was basically Wyatt in spirit but never mentioned him by name. The calmness, unmatched gun skill, sarcastic humor, and, "I'm too smart for this town," attitude were all deliberately modeled after Earp. Fact number 17. The gold mine scam in the film is based on a real 1800s con. Miners in the Old West used to sprinkle glittering minerals onto worthless rocks, called salting the mine, to trick investors into believing a location was full of gold. The movie makes a joke out of it, but the real version ruined lives. The writers studied Old West scams extensively to layer authentic frauds into the comedy. Both facts show how surprisingly researched this goofy comedy actually was. Behind the jokes and slapstick humor were real historical references disguised as punchlines. The film wasn't just mocking Western tropes, it was mocking real Western history. And that depth helped it age better than many serious Western dramas of its time. The movie's release journey was just as chaotic as its production. Fact number 18. The premiere was a disaster. The projector malfunctioned twice. The speakers popped so loudly people thought it was part of the gunfights. Several critics believed the movie was a failed drama instead of a parody. Someone shouted, "Is this supposed to be funny or not?" The studio panicked, believing the movie would flop instantly. But then came fact number 19, audiences loved it anyway. Regular moviegoers immediately understood the humor that critics missed. Families adored it. Western fans appreciated the parody. And James Garner's performance pulled in people who normally avoided Westerns entirely. The movie became a sleeper hit, making far more money than anyone predicted. Word of mouth quickly turned it into a cult classic. Even critics who originally trashed it quietly revised their reviews months later. The humor aged incredibly well, the pacing felt sharp, and the film possessed a charm modern comedies rarely achieve. These two facts show something important: This movie wasn't a studio-designed success story, it was a movie saved by the audience. They saw something real beneath the chaos, and that connection lifted it beyond expectations. Here it is, the final, biggest, and perhaps most surprising truth behind this movie. Fact number 20, support your local sheriff, accidentally created an entirely new subgenre. Before this film, Western comedies existed, but they were closer to slapstick or farce. They didn't parody Westerns while still being Westerns. They didn't combine self-aware humor with traditional Western storytelling. They didn't break the fourth wall through attitude, tone, and character behavior. But this movie did. Not intentionally, it stumbled into it. Its mix of parody, sincerity, charm, and tongue-in-cheek performances created the template for what would later become the self-aware Western comedy genre. Films like Blazing Saddles, City Slickers, and even modern Western-inspired shows owe part of their DNA to the tone pioneered here. The secret isn't that the film mocked Westerns, many movies did that. The secret is that it loved Westerns while mocking them. It embraced every trope, then twisted it with humor instead of cynicism. And that's why the movie didn't age, it stayed timeless. It's both a Western and a joke about Westerns. It's both a parody and a tribute. And that duality created something audiences hadn't seen before, a genre blend filmmakers still copy to this day. So after 20 strange, hilarious, and unbelievable facts, one message becomes crystal clear: support your local sheriff wasn't just a movie, it was a miracle. A film born from a broke studio, saved by improvisation, powered by James Garner's charisma, and shaped by mistakes that somehow became strengths. It had no budget, no smooth plan, no polished preparation. But it had personality, timing, talent, and pure comedic instinct. And if this breakdown brought you something new, made you laugh, or made you want to rewatch the film, then make sure you like, share, subscribe, and stick around. I've got more movie breakdowns, deeper dives, hidden secrets, and behind-the-scenes chaos coming your way. Until then, ride safe, Sheriff.